Welcome, friends. I want to tell you a story tonight about the first time that I saw the great B.B. King, the king of the blues. I saw B.B. King at Bill Graham's show at Winterland in San Francisco. Now, Winterland was an ice rink. It was around the corner from the Fillmore Auditorium. And this was in 1968. I saw B.B. King at Winterland in 1968. So what was happening in those years, the audiences were growing for the new rock music. And Bill Graham was putting on shows at the Fillmore, but he would often maybe have a show at the Fillmore on a Friday night. And on Saturday night, they had the largest volume. He put the show on around the corner in the Fillmore district at Winterland. And then on Sunday, back at the Fillmore Auditorium. So there was that kind of stuff going on. In those days, 1966, 67, 68, we were in the middle of a revolution, a transformation of the society, and a transformation of rock music. From rock and roll in the 50s, and then the Beatles opened the floodgates for all sorts of stuff. In 1966, those of us in Northern California became aware of Eric Clapton with the release of the LP John Mayall's Blues Breakers featuring Eric Clapton. And let me tell you, that was one of the most influential records for guitar that ever happened. I mean, everybody started trying to play like Eric Clapton. Eddie Van Halen said, I worked very hard to try to sound like Eric Clapton. So it was a whole new paradigm in music. The music was advancing. The trends in those days were in a linear fashion. And people were getting better on their instruments. Technically, the music was becoming more sophisticated and more oriented toward improvisation. Also in 1966, the Albert King album, Born Under a Bad Sign, was released. Real early on there, but I think it might have been released in Northern California after the Eric Clapton Blues Breakers record. So the thing about the entire history of popular music in the United States has been a process of white musicians taking the music of African Americans and learning it and recording it and becoming successful, while the black musicians didn't make as much money. So the black musicians kept changing their music. I think it helped the evolution of African American music, black music. But the difference was Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Keith Richards, these guys were all from England. They didn't live in the United States at that time, not yet. And they weren't exposed to the kind of American racism. So they were happy, Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Keith Richards, they were happy to point to their bluesman influences. And that included the American Mike Bloomfield. Mike Bloomfield was an American guitar hero, he was a fantastic player. Bloomfield grew up in Chicago, and when he was a teen in early 20s, he was hanging around on the south side of Chicago, sitting in, playing his guitar with the blues greats, Muddy Waters, Howling Wolf. I don't know if he played with B.B. King, but B.B. King was really, B.B. King was the upper crust of blues, was a whole other level of blues, like real class blues. So, what happened in the public, at least in Northern California, you get Eric Clapton Blues Breakers, you got Born Under a Bad Sign. Clapton and people like him were saying, this is where I got it. They were acknowledging the genius artistry of those black blues performers. So Albert King made a big splash at that time when that album came out. That was a very successful album. Born Under a Bad Sign. And it had excellent crossover. So us white suburban kids, we're buying that record, and I love that record. I still love that record. Fantastic record. And the backing band is Booker T and the MGs, like from Green Onions, from the Otis Redding backup band. So, because this was going on, that the rock artists were pointing to their influences and oftentimes their heroes, people were becoming aware of it. The public was becoming aware of it. And something else that was going on, B.B. was in jam sessions in New York, in L.A. B.B. was in jam sessions with Eric Clapton. There are photos of B.B. with Eric Clapton, and there are photos of Jimi Hendrix with Eric Clapton. So the career of B.B. King was starting to get better. So whereas Albert King was really doing really well by 1967, 68. In 1967, another important album came out, and that was the B.B. King album, Blues is King, B.B. King, Don't Answer the Door. And I first heard that, I went over to a friend's house. He lived in a place called Foster City, which is landfill, the southern part of San Mateo, which is south of San Francisco. And those were called Eichler homes. And so each one of those homes, they're like prefab homes, I think, had an atrium. So I went over to see him in Foster City. I don't remember why. And he said, wait a minute, I got to go in. So I'm waiting in the atrium, and I hear this guitar solo. And I hear this fantastic guitar tone and bending and vibrato to die for. And there's incredible build of this guitar solo. And I didn't know who it was. I had never heard that before. And the solo goes to a crescendo. And he's just wailing, in the higher register. And when my friend came out, I said, who the hell was that? He says, oh yeah, that's good, isn't it? That's B.B. King. So first thing I did is I went out and bought that record. Blues is King, B.B. King. So now it was time for B.B. King to cross over into a wide, mainstream, mainly white suburban audience. So one thing that Bill Graham, the entrepreneur of the Film Auditorium, one thing he was doing is he was hiring all the rock acts, the bands from San Francisco, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver, Country Joe and the Fish from Berkeley, and he was putting them on the bill with blues artists, Albert King, B.B. King, Otis Rush, Buddy Guy, and then he started on the jazz. I saw I saw Charles Lloyd at the Fillmore twice. Charles Lloyd, and that was a good band. They had Jack DeJohnette on drums, Cecil McBee on bass, Charles Lloyd, and Keith Jarrett on piano. And I saw Roland Kirk there twice. So I think Bill Graham was trying to expose the big white hippie suburban audience to things that he liked, things that were a little different. So this is the big time here. B.B. King was booked at the Fillmore. So Friday night at the Fillmore, Saturday night at Winterland, and Sunday afternoon, I think, back at the Fillmore. And they put him on the bill with Mike Bloomfield's new band, The Electric Flag. Now, Bloomfield had studied a lot of B.B. King licks and way of playing, and he was playing that, and that's what Michael Bloomfield sounded like. So I wasn't there on Friday night, but the buzz and the legend is that before BB's set, Mike Bloomfield, and a lot of us were really following Mike Bloomfield. He was really a guitar hero. Mike Bloomfield got up to the mic to introduce B.B. King, and he was saying, Bloomfield used to say things that he said something like, "This is the man. This is the guy. This is the guy we're all following. This is it. This is the great B.B. King," And then the legend is that after that, Bill Graham introduced B.B. King. "Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the board." So that's what I heard. It's kind of a well-known rumor. The next night was Saturday night at Winterland. And I was in a band. I was a singer and a harmonica player. I'd been playing guitar at home, but not in the band yet. Playing guitar at home, I went to a couple of jam sessions, I had a very good guitarist in my band. I learned a lot from watching. So I've been listening to old B.B. King records. In addition to that great record, Blues is King, B.B. King, I was listening to old things. So I like B.B. King. So I went to see B.B. King. And he was at Winterland. And Winterland is a much bigger space than the Fillmore. So they put him on the bill with, like I said, Mike Bloomfield's Electric Flag, and also the Byrds. Byrds is one of my favorite ever bands. But this was the Byrds, like, as three people. They made a record like that called the Notorious Byrd Brothers. So I don't recollect exactly who was playing. I don't remember hearing anything of the Byrds. I don't know. I heard a little bit of Electric Flag, but then the big moment came. This is 1968, right? I'm a harmonica player. I'm a singer. B.B. King comes out, and he's got like an organ trio with horns. It's B.B., he's an organ player, playing the bass pedals, and his perennial drummer, his name escapes me, Sonny Freeman and the Unusuals, and a tenor and a trumpet. And he started playing the blues, and my mouth was hanging open, This guy was really something. At that time, in 1968, B.B. King was nearly in his prime, maybe already in his prime. And his style's changed over the years. His own B.B. King style evolved over the years. So, okay, there I am, this white suburban kid from the suburbs. I'm in a blues band. I'm singing, playing harmonica, and I heard this guy and I was playing some guitar. I heard this guy. I heard B.B. King, and I never played the harmonica since. Yeah, I went home after that and started working on guitar, and actually formed a different band with me on guitar. So they were up there playing trumpet, tenor, Hammond organ with pedals, B.B. King singing and playing guitar. And this is 1968, and so all those guys were black guys, and they were wearing their hair the way black guys did in those days. They call it a process. I think we're being invaded by Hell's Angels or something. Jeez. They all had their process. Their hair was shiny, you know. This is before the afro, just before the afro. And they were playing the best blues I ever heard. It was much more in the direction of jazz than the Muddy Waters ilk. Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. It's more of a harder edge kind of jazz, kind of blues, I mean. And I was just blown away. And then what happened was, they finished their set, and they took a 15-minute break, and they stayed on the stage. They're going to play another set. This was amazing. So the only time I've ever seen that since then is Ustad Ali Akbar Khan in Calcutta at a concert, and he played for about an hour and a half or something, and he took his break on the stage, and a short break, and he came back. That's exactly what B.B. King did that night. And he asked them to, like, turn off the light show and to turn the lights up and open the doors and let people in for free. Now, Winterland is in the Tenderloin district in San Francisco. So it's famous for a lot of very pathetic winos wandering around outside and everything. So they open the doors, and B.B. King starts one long slow blues. Instead of playing a bunch of songs, when he'd go to a new song, they would just modulate into another key without stopping. If you've ever heard the record B.B. King live at the Regal, it's like that, you know. And they were playing the blues, and B.B. was playing them for the bums and the winos, and they were coming in, you know, from the street, and, you know, looking at everything and wandering around. I think they were encouraged to come in. And he played a real long set, one slow blues, maybe a fast shuffle at the end. And it was really amazing to see that man. I always loved his music ever since then. I saw him many times after that. I was a white teenager in the suburbs, and my hero, my guitar hero, it wasn't Clapton or Jeff Beck. It was B.B. King. B.B. King was my hero. I tried to play like him. I transcribed parts of records. I had a Buddy Guy record. I think it was Buddy Guy's first LP record. And in those days, he was playing a lot of B.B. King licks. And I took a lot of B.B. King licks off of Buddy Guy. So, I just told you my story about seeing B.B. King for the first time. And, you know, it changed my music, and it changed my life. Thank you. Ciao.